Good evening. Let us discuss the 15th May 2015 newspaper. So, the continuation of the topic is Prime Minister Modi's visit to China. So, what are the issues that are discussed? Especially in discussions between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, what it was told is, so for the economic progress to occur between the countries, maintaining the peace and tranquility at the border and control of the terrorism that is growing in the countries, it is very much the first step to be undertaken. And the next thing is the trade deficit, almost $40 billion of the state deficit is unfavorable to India. So Modi has brought up this particular issue with the president. And one more thing is that China is building a series of dams on Sangpo River, which is Brahmaputra. So the transboundary rivers and sharing of hydrological information was also discussed with the Chinese premier. And next is there are many strong areas of cooperation. The first one is clean energy. India is aimed at 1 lakh megawatt of renewable energy by 2020. So it means that China has already is advanced, has a premier knowledge with regard to the clean technologies such as wind energy and solar energy, where China can help India to reach its goal. And one road, one belt initiative, one belt, one road initiative, India did not commit itself to anything, but however it said it is ready to cooperate with China on a project-to-project basis. So India and China agreed to cooperate on Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar corridor of this particular initiative. And added to that, infrastructure development. So recently Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu visited China as representative of India, and China agreed to cooperate in building the state capital, that is Amaravati. In this context, the major question which I see over here is this: improving the state-to-state or province-to-province relations or subnational relations, how it is significant to the foreign relations development, so that from that perspective a question can be asked for. So if you can see, along with the Prime Minister, the Chief Ministers of Maharashtra, Gujarat and Karnataka went to China. In these circumstances, the subnational diplomacy and its significance, people-to-people contacts, this can be a probable question because it is a major step taken up by the Modi's government. And added to that, Prime Minister Modi also announced for the e-visas, which is not yet updated in today's newspaper. And one more thing is, the India and China, they can take up the joint venture projects in various continents. In most of these places, they bid the projects as competitors. So the joint venture will be mutually beneficial for both the countries in West Asia, Latin America and Africa. And the military cooperation, the hotline between the military headquarters is already agreed between the nations. These are the articles of today's discussion. And the next is changed strategy with regard to the Maoists in India. Now, recently Prime Minister of India Modi visited the Bastar region. So in Bastar, he has inaugurated a steel factory and also few other developmental activities. Now in this context, the counter-insurgency strategy, it is majorly based on two factors. It can be one developmental factor. The second is it can be a law and order which can be faced with a military offensiveness. So we can have a military solution or police solution which is can be a part of counter-insurgency and development. The previous government has majorly took up the Naxalism or Maoism as a law and order issue, tried to tackle that through police means. Now, the existing government appears to be taking a positive developmental route in this front. In this connection, what it can be said is, India is lacking something called a comprehensive anti-Naxalism strategy or counter-insurgency doctrine. So once this counter-insurgency doctrine is made, we can expect some continuity with regard to the actions and also unity of approach among the various states to fight the menace of Naxalism. So added to that, the permanent solutions of Naxalism, they lie in development and also improving the governance in the region. Understand, the Maoism is not just an ideological fight in India. It is also associated with various forms of deprivation inherent to the caste system and also poverty. So that is the reason why the development is the ultimate solution for this anti-state fight in the country. The next is Nepal quake and Gorkha bond. So with regard to earthquake and India's relief efforts, this article is being talked about. But understand, I am not at all concerned with all these parts or technical issues of relief. So how I try to look at this article is, to what extent India and Nepal have these strong bonds with each other. Especially from very beginning, India's physical proximity, linguistic relations, familiarity with terrain, socio-ethnic cultural linkages were stressed. And most of the places, this military cooperation, which was very strong between these two nations, was ever stressed on. So in this case, the article of Ashok Mehta talks about these things. Now, most of the officers in the Royal Nepal Army, they are trained by the Indian academies. Added to that, the army chiefs of both the countries, that is India and Nepal, are honorary generals in each other armies. So it means we have relatively very strong working bond with the Nepalese army. So in spite of certain negative propaganda which is undertaken against India by certain political parties, cannot really harm the long-term interests or long-term gains of India or long-term association of India with Nepal. Added to that, he also stresses on bringing in decentralization and strong local administration can improve the disaster preparedness of the Nepal. This is what is the article talks about. And next is, with regard to the Bihar, the public distribution system has saw a significant improvement. So what are the reasons for PDS improvement? Previously, embezzlement of the funds, or else there is a huge corruption prevalent in the PDS, which was the major reason for the loss of or leakages of grains in the PDS. Now between 2009-2010 to 2011-2012, the leakages decreased from 75% to 24%, which is a very remarkable improvement. Now, what are the reasons for this improvement? The first thing is, the bogus ration cards are done away with. Previously, the BPL cards which are being provided for, so they are mostly based on various affiliations. Now, these cards are being provided on a wider criteria of socio-economic and caste census. So, relatively, these cards are now more and more reliable, genuine and logical. And the second thing is, the improved governance is one factor, and wider coverage of the PDS system. So it means more people are the beneficiaries of the grain under the PDS now, more than 86%. When the coverage of the PDS increases, then leakages are going to come down. And the third thing is, there is a lot of political awakening which is happening around food security issues. If you can see the victory or winning of elections by Raman Singh in Chhattisgarh, who is famously known as Chawal Baba, it is majorly due to effective implementation of the PDS system. So now in this case, the PDS improvements in the PDS system and food security became a major mobilization points for various political parties. So there is a strong political awakening around food security issues. So these are the reasons for the improvement of PDS system. So what it shows is, even if the states were badly governed in the previous decades, If they focus on reforms, the PDS structure can be improved in India. Now the second thing is, still there are certain points, there are certain problems in the PDS system. The PDS dealers are still arbitrary and grievance redressal system had to be improved in Bihar. And next is crisis at sea. So this is related to Rohingyas in Myanmar. So these are the, if you take the demographic structure of Myanmar, Buddhists are the majority and these Rohingyas who are Muslims are the minority. So these people facing persecution in Myanmar from Buddhism, they are fleeing the country through ocean routes. In the process, the countries where they are landing, that is Malaysia, Indonesia and Thailand, they are being sent back or they are not being invited, and most of them are getting drowned or ending their lives within the sea. So, and the second thing is, they are also becoming the victims of the human smugglers. So in this context, the author argues that it is a huge human rights crisis which is going on in Myanmar. The White House, Obama's administration, which claims its victory on Myanmar, shall focus on this and it has to correct this human rights situation in Myanmar. And next is the Rajya Sabha versus Lok Sabha. So many of the bills which are introduced by the government, they are obstructed in Rajya Sabha due to lack of majority for the BJP and its allies. So in this case, the argument is, can Rajya Sabha, an indirectly elected body, question the bills which are being introduced by the Lok Sabha? Obviously, here we need to remember that the Rajya Sabha is a second house, a revisory house, but it is not a secondary house. So there is also a constitutional arrangement to overcome this deadlock situation. If you can take off Article 108 and joint sitting sessions that are the positions given to overcome the deadlock situations. And the second thing is, the government is taking up the money bill route to overcome the problem or to overcome the obstruction, opposition in Rajya Sabha. Is this a correct strategy, or is this undermining of the parliamentary procedures? You need to assess over here. And the next is related to the inflation. The inflation is all-time low in India. It has come down to minus 2.65. So inflation is dipping, and added to that, the growth with regard to the production figures are also going down in India. So it means it is the time we shall make the investments available to the companies. It means that the banking sector has to take up an active role. So what it said is, so let us revise the monetary policy and let us decrease the rates, that is repo rate, etc. So the money will be available at a cheaper interest rate which can go into investments. So this will further yield the production process. So what exactly they are asking for is, it's the right time for the expansionary fiscal policy as the inflation is low. It means there is adequate monetary space to maneuver to facilitate the growth in the coming years. This is what is the demand. Thank you very much.